a beautiful, active bee who loves work, called Nahola. Everyone in the hive loves her, especially the queen, because she helps everyone and gets up active in the morning and leaves the hive moments before sunrise, before everyone else to go to school and gather nectar from flowers to make honey. She does not slacken off in her work for the worst of conditions, such as floods or even illness, and everyone can testify to her clearly. She used to pass by the beautiful flowers in the morning and greet them and give them permission to take the nectar, and everyone loves them from plants and roses and trees. She sits under what she can collect of nectar. She returns to the hive before sunset. One day, she cannot use it from a flower to the various nectar with them. Your concern is in work. You forgot yourself and did not notice that the sun was about to set and took over the financial responsibility in the place. And Nahola did not do that. She continued saying she did not care because she was busy at work and did not leave until sunset. Oh my God, where do I go in this terrifying night? She doesn't know the way that evening. The beautiful red rose heard her and said to her, Nahula, don't worry about that. From this moment on, he will be called my guest, and we will stay up late and chat until the morning. Nahula answered her happily. Thank you, beautiful and kind rose, for your generosity. Nuhola became close to the beautiful red rose, and they began to exchange words, and the sounds of their laughter were audible. At that moment, the crow was standing on a nearby tree and heard the sounds of laughter and loud talk. He focused and saw a bee standing on the red rose. He said to himself, "A bee in the dark." In the blink of an eye, he swooped down on it, lifted it with his beak, and put it in his nest, saying, "Thank God. I guaranteed my dinner." "But where are your remaining bees?" Nuhola answered, afraid. The remaining bees went to the hive before sunset. The crow answered, "Why didn't you go with them?" The bee answered, Nuhola, "I was busy with work and didn't notice the sunset. So I stayed here waiting for the morning. At sunrise, I go to the hive." He answered her, "Is anyone waiting for you there in the hive?" She answered, "Yes, everyone is waiting for me, especially the queen." The crow asked the bee, Nahola, "If everyone is waiting for you, especially the queen, I will not eat you and I will keep you alive. God willing, early in the morning I will take you to the hive myself. I will get to know your queen so we can be friends." The bee, Nahula, looked at the crow in surprise and said to herself, "What is the intention of this deceitful crow? Does he want me to guide him to the location of the hive? I will not be that treacherous. I must think of a way to get rid of this deceitful crow, even if it costs me my life." The bee, Nahula, looked at the crow and said to him, "We will head together at sunrise to our hive so I can introduce you to everyone and tell them that you have sheltered me and hosted me. But now I feel tired and sleepy. Let me sleep a little." The crow answered, "The nest is your nest. Take your time in it." The bee, Nahola, closed her eyes to make him think that she was asleep and to reassure the crow that the bee, Nahola, was in a deep sleep. As for the crow, he started to go out of the nest for a while, and then came back again to make sure that she was asleep. After he was reassured about her, he left her and went out of the nest. As for the bee, Nahola, she spoke to herself, "I will not allow this crow to know the way to the hive, even if it requires me to sacrifice my life to save the hive and its queen." While the crow was busy outside the nest, suddenly it flew quickly without him noticing and headed to the nearest flower, which was a broad bean flower, and headed towards it quickly, saying, "Please save me from this evil crow." She opened the broad bean flower and returned it to the bee, and asked the bee, Nuhola, to enter this flower and closed it so that it became difficult to open the broad bean flower. The bee stayed until this flower became a broad bean fruit with the bee still inside it. One day, while the father was in one of the houses having lunch with his family, the meal included broad bean. One of the sons took a broad bean seed, and after opening it, he found a small dead bee inside it. He asked his father, wondering, "Dad, when I always open a broad bean fruit, I find a dead fly inside it. Why this time do I find a dead bee?" "Father, what I know, my son, is that flies lay their eggs on roses. When some roses bear fruit, the fly egg will become a fly, but it will be too late because it cannot get out. But the presence of a dead bee inside a fava bean. I do not know about this matter, but I advise you to throw it away." Neither the father nor the son knew that this bee was the one who sacrificed her life for her homeland, the beehive and its queen. If they had known about this great sacrifice by this little bee, they would have stood with love and respect for her.